Remove this thug from my cabin immediately. Jessica Crawford's voice slices through the luxury cabin like shattered glass. Her manicured finger points directly at the teenager in seat 2A,
Looks like we're in for a smooth
trembling
flight,
with
folks.
indignation.
Absolutely, Captain.
Security.
Can I get you anything to make your
We
flight more
have an
comfortable?
unauthorized minor attempting to access first class. The entire first-class cabin of flight
Everything's under control
MA-847 goes
here,
dead
but
silent.
you won't believe what's
Conversations stop mid-sentence. Champagne glasses freeze halfway to lips. The only sound is the gentle hum of the Boeing 787's engines as it sits at the gate at JFK International Airport. What Jessica doesn't know is that in exactly 11 minutes, the thug she's screaming at will destroy her 22-year career. In 15 minutes, Captain Robert Martinez will be grounded permanently. And in 18 minutes, the most powerful voice in aviation will echo through this cabin, forever changing how people are treated at 35,000 feet. The teenager in question, 19-year-old Zara Thompson, sits calmly in her first-class suite, a worn copy of The Souls of Black Folk open on her lap. She wears a faded Champion hoodie with a small hole near the left shoulder, ripped jeans that have seen better days, and beaten Converse sneakers held together with duct tape. Her hair is pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she carries a battered JanSport backpack that looks like it survived college dorm life. To the untrained eye, Zara looks like a scholarship student who somehow stumbled into the wrong cabin. To the prejudiced eye, she looks like trouble. "Ma'am, there's been a mistake." Jessica continues, her voice growing louder. This section requires a valid first-class boarding pass, which clearly this young lady does not possess. Zara looks up from her book, her dark eyes steady and calm. She reaches into her hoodie pocket and produces her phone, displaying the digital boarding pass. Seat 2A. Paid in full. Jessica snatches the phone from Zara's hands without permission, squinting at the screen like she's examining evidence of a crime. This looks suspicious. Very suspicious. System errors happen with certain bookings. Behind Jessica, her colleague Miguel Santos shifts uncomfortably. The 28-year-old flight attendant has worked with Jessica for 3 years and recognizes the tone she uses when she's decided someone doesn't belong. It's the same tone she used when questioning the Latino family last month or the young Middle Eastern man the week before. Jessica Miguel whispers her boarding pass looks legitimate. Jessica whips around to face him, her eyes blazing. "Are you questioning my judgment, Miguel? I've been flying for 22 years. I know a scam when I see one." Across the aisle in seat 2F, Victoria Westbrook clutches her small chihuahua closer to her designer coat. The 68-year-old widow is draped in Chanel, her pearl necklace worth more than most people's cars. She presses the call button repeatedly like she's signaling an emergency. Stewardess Victoria's voice carries the authority of old money and older prejudice. "There's been a terrible mistake. I specifically requested a quiet, exclusive atmosphere. I did not pay $15,000 to sit across from that, the word that hangs in the air like poison." Zara doesn't react. She's been called worse. Instead, she reaches for the small notebook in her backpack and begins writing. Jessica Crawford, lead flight attendant, confiscated passenger phone without cause, discriminatory language. Time 2:47 p.m. "What are you writing?" Jessica demands, leaning over Zara's seat. "Notes," Zara says quietly. "For my report." "Report?" Jessica laughs, a sharp sound devoid of humor. "What report? You think anyone cares what you have to say?" Zara looks up, and for just a moment, Jessica sees something in the teenager's eyes that makes her uncomfortable. It's not fear or anger. It's patience. The kind of patience that comes from knowing something the other person doesn't. "You'll find out," Zara says softly. From the cockpit, Captain Robert Martinez emerges, adjusting his uniform jacket. At 48, he's a decorated Air Force veteran with 15 years of commercial flying experience. He's also a father of 2 daughters, and seeing the commotion makes him uncomfortable. But not uncomfortable enough to challenge Jessica's authority. "What's the situation here, Jessica?" he asks. though his tone suggests he's already decided to support whatever she says. Unauthorized passenger captain. Possibly fraudulent boarding pass. I recommend we have security escort her off before takeoff. Martinez looks at Zara, taking in her appearance, making the same assumptions Jessica made. Have you verified her identity? She refuses to cooperate. Jessica lies smoothly, becoming belligerent and disruptive. Miguel opens his mouth to correct this obvious falsehood, then closes it. He has a mortgage and 2 kids. He can't afford to challenge Jessica, not when she has seniority and the captain's ear. Zara watches the interaction with growing interest. She pulls out her phone, the one Jessica returned after examining, and sends a single text message. It's happening. The message goes to a contact labeled simply, Dad. 3 minutes after Jessica Crawford first pointed her finger at Zara Thompson, she has no idea she just started a chain reaction that will transform the aviation industry forever. She thinks she's protecting the airline's reputation. She thinks she's maintaining standards. She thinks she's in control. But control is an illusion, and Jessica's is about to shatter completely. Zara closes her notebook and looks up at Jessica with those same steady eyes. This will be a moment you remember for the rest of your life. Jessica crosses her arms, secure in her authority. Is that supposed to scare me? Zara doesn't smile. She doesn't threaten. She simply says, You'll find out soon enough. And, as the tension in the first-class cabin builds like pressure before a storm, no one, not Jessica, not Captain Martinez, not even Victoria Westbrook, has any idea that the quiet teenager in the torn jeans holds the power to ground their entire world. The countdown has begun. 18 hours earlier, Zara Thompson sits in the corner office of Meridian Airlines corporate headquarters, a glass tower that pierces the Manhattan skyline like a steel needle. The office belongs to her father, Michael Thompson, CEO and founder of the airline that started as a single regional route and grew into a global empire. The complaints are getting worse, Michael says, sliding a thick folder across his mahogany desk. At 52, he's built like a linebacker gone soft around the edges, but his eyes still hold the sharp intelligence that turned a college dropout into one of the most powerful men in aviation. Flight 847 JFK to London. Same route, same problems. 9 formal discrimination complaints in 6 months. Zara flips through the pages, each one a story of humiliation. A black businessman forced to show his boarding pass 4 times. A Latina doctor questioned about how she could afford first class. An elderly Sikh man asked to remove his turban for additional security screening that never happened to anyone else. They're not random incidents, Michael continues. There's a pattern. Same crew rotation, same passenger demographics targeted. Jessica Crawford is the common denominator in every complaint. Zara looks up from the files. So fire her. It's not that simple. Union protection, wrongful termination lawsuits, lack of concrete evidence. These passengers' word against a 22-year veteran with a clean record on paper. Michael leans back in his chair. That's where you come in. This is Zara's first solo assignment for Meridian. She's spent her life learning the aviation industry from the ground up, literally. While other CEOs' children summered in the Hamptons, Zara worked baggage handling at Phoenix Sky Harbor. While they attended Swiss boarding schools, she learned maintenance procedures in Meridian's Kansas City hub. Her father believed you couldn't lead people whose jobs you'd never done. Complete undercover audit, Michael explains. No special treatment, no corporate ID, no family name recognition. I want to know exactly how our passengers are treated when they think no one important is watching. Zara takes the assignment because she knows the feeling of not belonging. At 14, she was ejected from a country club pool party because the parents hosting it assumed she was the help's daughter. At 16, security followed her through a department store until she bought something just to prove she could afford it. At 18, a college admissions counselor suggested she aim lower despite perfect SAT scores. Each incident forged armor around her heart, but also sharpened her sense of justice. "What's my cover story?" she asks. "Howard University student flying on a scholarship winner's ticket." Keep the backstory simple. Let them make their own assumptions. Zara nods. She's actually a sophomore at Howard studying business and philosophy, but she's also heir to a fortune that could buy most small countries. The contradiction doesn't escape her using privilege to expose the lack of it. Meanwhile, 23 floors below in Meridian's crew scheduling office, Jessica Crawford reviews her assignment for the next day's flight. Born Jessica Hartwell in a small Ohio town where diversity meant Catholics and Protestants sitting in the same diner, she joined Meridian fresh out of flight attendant training 22 years ago. Back then, airlines marketed glamour and passengers dressed up to fly. She misses those days. Jessica believes hierarchy matters. She believes appearances count. She believes some people earn respect and others demand it without deserving it. These beliefs feel like common sense to her, not prejudice. In her small Queens apartment, Jessica reviews the passenger manifest for Flight 847. Business executives, foreign dignitaries, tech entrepreneurs. The kind of people who belong in first class. She takes pride in maintaining what she calls appropriate standards. She has no idea that tomorrow those standards will cost her everything. Captain Robert Martinez lives in a different kind of denial. In his suburban New Jersey home, he helps his daughters with homework and tells his wife about his day. He mentions difficult passengers and crew conflicts, but frames them as operational challenges, not moral ones. When his 15-year-old daughter asks why he didn't speak up during the incident with the Muslim passenger last month, he explains about chain of command and staying focused on safety. Sometimes we have to let other people handle social issues so we can focus on flying the plane, he tells her, believing his own rationalization. His daughter nods, but she's thinking about her civics class discussion on bystander responsibility. She doesn't argue with her father, but she's disappointed in a way she's too young to articulate. Victoria Westbrook represents a different kind of problem. Widowed 5 years ago when her investment banker husband died of a heart attack, she spent her golden years traveling the world in first-class comfort. Her discriminatory comments aren't born of economic anxiety or job insecurity. They come from a lifetime of believing her comfort matters more than other people's dignity. In her Fifth Avenue penthouse, she reviews her travel itinerary for the London trip. Shopping on Bond Street, dinner at Claridge's Theatre in the West End. She's paid premium prices for premium experiences, and she expects a certain type of person to share those experiences with her. She sees diversity as a lowering of standards rather than an expansion of humanity. Miguel Santos represents the moral complexity of complicity. As the son of Mexican immigrants, he's faced his own share of discrimination. But he's also achieved something his parents could only dream of: a stable job with benefits, respect from passengers, and the ability to travel the world. He doesn't want to rock the boat that lifted him from poverty. When Jessica makes comments that make him uncomfortable, he tells himself she's just old school, not malicious. When passengers of color are treated differently, he focuses on doing his own job well rather than challenging the pattern. It's easier to be individually good than institutionally brave. Tomorrow, that calculation will change. The stage is set for a collision between privilege and prejudice, between appearance and reality, between how things have always been done and how they should be done. Zara Thompson will board Flight 847 carrying more than just luggage. She'll carry the power to transform an industry and the responsibility to use it wisely. But first, she has to survive the cruelty of people who think they know who she is based on what she looks like. In her Columbia dorm room, Zara lays out her outfit for the flight, the most ordinary clothes she owns. The Champion hoodie her roommate gave her jeans with authentic wear patterns, sneakers that have walked thousands of miles. She looks at herself in the mirror and sees a college student. Jessica Crawford will see something else entirely. The difference between those two perspectives will change everything. As Zara falls asleep, her last thought is about her father's words. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let people show you exactly who they are. Tomorrow, Jessica Crawford will do exactly that. The confrontation escalates with surgical precision. Jessica Crawford has made her opening move, and now she doubles down with the confidence of someone who has never been challenged. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to gather your belongings and move to economy class," Jessica announces, her voice carrying across the cabin like a courtroom verdict. "There's been an obvious error in your seat assignment." Zara doesn't move. She marks her place in her book and looks up with those same calm eyes. "There's no error. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," Jessica responds, stepping closer. "I can have security escort you off this plane if necessary." The threat hangs in the recycled air like smoke. Other passengers pretend to read their magazines or check their phones, but ears are tuned to every word. This is the kind of drama that makes people uncomfortable but also unable to look away. Miguel Santos approaches from the galley, his face twisted with concern. He's watched this scene play out before, always with the same demographics, always with the same result. But today feels different. Today feels more dangerous. "Jessica," he says quietly, "maybe we should just check with the gate agent. Verify the booking properly." Jessica whirls on him like a predator protecting its kill. "Miguel, I am the senior cabin crew member on this flight. Are you questioning my authority?" The question is loaded with more than professional hierarchy. Miguel is younger male, Hispanic, and challenging a white woman with seniority. In the complex dynamics of airline crew relationships, this borders on mutiny. "No ma'am," Miguel says, backing down. "I just thought..." "Don't think. Do your job. My job is handling passenger issues, and this is definitely a passenger issue." Zara watches this exchange with growing interest. She pulls out her notebook again and writes, "Miguel Santos. Attempted to de-escalate. Silenced by senior crew member. Time, 2:52 p.m. Victoria Westbrook can no longer contain herself. She unbuckles her seatbelt and stands her small dog yapping from its designer carrier. "Excuse me," Victoria calls out, her voice dripping with entitlement. "I specifically requested a quiet, exclusive environment for this flight. I have important business meetings in London, and I cannot have my preparations disrupted by this situation." She gestures toward Zara like she's pointing out a spilled drink or a broken overhead bin. The dehumanization is casual, practiced, unconscious. "Mrs. Westbrook, I completely understand your concerns," Jessica says, suddenly transformed into the picture of professional courtesy. "We're handling the situation immediately. This passenger will be relocated to her appropriate section." Zara speaks for the first time in 5 minutes. "My appropriate section is seat 2A, first class, which I paid for." Victoria gasps like Zara just confessed to a crime. Paid for with what? The question reveals everything about Victoria's worldview. She cannot conceive of a 19-year-old black girl in torn jeans having legitimate access to a $15,000 airline seat. The cognitive dissonance is too great. There must be fraud, charity, or mistake. With money, Zara says simply. How else does anyone pay for anything? Jessica steps between them, sensing an opportunity to escalate the conflict. Mrs. Westbrook raises a valid concern. "How exactly did you afford this seat, young lady?" The question is inappropriate and irrelevant. Passengers aren't required to justify their financial capacity to fly. But Jessica frames it as a security issue, giving her interrogation the veneer of professional responsibility. "I don't have to answer that," Zara responds. "Actually, you do." Jessica lies smoothly. "We have federal regulations about passenger verification. If you can't prove your legitimate right to this seat, I have the authority to remove you." This is completely false, but Jessica delivers it with such confidence that even Miguel starts to doubt what he knows about airline policy. Authority has its own gravity-pulling truth toward whoever speaks with the most certainty. From the cockpit, Captain Martinez emerges again, attracted by the raised voices and obvious tension. He's hoping to calm the situation quickly so they can push back on schedule. Delays cost money, and money matters more than almost anything else in commercial aviation. "What's the holdup, Jessica?" he asks, though he's already scanning Zara's appearance and making his own assumptions. "Unauthorized passenger, Captain. Possible fraud case. She's refusing to cooperate with security verification." Martinez looks at Zara for the first time directly. She's young, black, dressed like a college student sitting in a seat that costs more than many people's monthly salary. The math doesn't add up in his mind, not because it's impossible, but because he lacks the imagination to see beyond stereotypes. "Have you seen identification?" he asks Jessica. "She showed me a boarding pass on her phone, but digital passes can be easily manipulated. No government ID, no credit card verification, no explanation of how she afforded the ticket. These requirements are entirely invented. Airlines don't require passengers to prove their financial worthiness or explain their purchasing decisions." But Martinez doesn't challenge Jessica's authority because it would require admitting he doesn't know his own company's policies. "Ma'am," Martinez addresses Zara directly, "if you could just show us some additional identification and explain how you came to have this seat, we can resolve this quickly and get everyone to London on time." Zara looks at the captain with something approaching pity. He's not malicious like Jessica or entitled like Victoria. He's just weak. He's choosing the path of least resistance, which happens to run directly over her dignity. "I've shown my boarding pass, which is all any passenger is required to show," Zara says. "I'm not answering questions about my finances or explaining my right to exist in this space." The word "exist" hits like a slap. It strips away all pretense and reveals the fundamental issue Jessica, Victoria, and by extension Martinez, don't believe Zara has the right to exist in their world. Victoria can no longer contain her outrage. "This is ridiculous. Look at her. Look at how she's dressed. People like that don't fly first class unless someone made a mistake or they're running some kind of scam. People like that." The phrase hovers in the air like a curse. Zara stands up slowly. She's 5 feet 6 inches tall, but in that moment she seems to fill the entire cabin. Her voice remains calm, but there's steel underneath. "People like what exactly?" Mrs. Westbrook Victoria realizes she's stepped over a line, but she's too committed to retreat. "People who don't understand the expectations of first-class service. People who aren't accustomed to this level of accommodation. It's a careful dance around explicit racism using coded language that means everything and nothing. But everyone in the cabin understands the translation." Jessica sees an opportunity to regain control of the narrative. Mrs. Westbrook raises valid concerns about passenger comportment and appropriate behavior. This young lady has been disruptive from the moment she boarded. This is another lie. Zara has been reading quietly, speaking only when addressed, following every federal regulation about passenger conduct. But lies repeated with authority start to sound like truth, especially to people predisposed to believe them. Miguel Santos cannot stay silent any longer. She hasn't been disruptive at all. She's been completely cooperative. Jessica rounds on him with fury that's been building for minutes. "Miguel, you're out of line. I'm writing you up for insubordination. Go to the galley and stay there until I give you other instructions." The power dynamics are now explicit. Jessica is using her authority to silence the one crew member willing to tell the truth. Miguel faces a choice: protect Zara and risk his job, or protect his job and abandon Zara. He chooses self-preservation, walking to the galley with his head down, ashamed but employed. Zara watches him go and writes in her notebook, "Miguel Santos ordered away for defending passenger rights." Senior crew member prioritizes control over accuracy. "What are you writing now?" Jessica demands. Everything Zara says, every word, every action, every lie. Lies. Jessica's voice rises to a near shriek. Are you calling me a liar? I'm documenting what I observe. Captain Martinez realizes the situation is spiraling beyond his control, but his response is to assert more authority, rather than examine the underlying problem. Miss, I'm going to need you to put that notebook away and follow crew instructions. Failure to comply with crew instructions is a federal offense. This is technically true, but Jessica hasn't given any lawful crew instructions. She's made demands based on personal prejudice, not federal regulation, but the distinction is lost in the heat of the moment. Zara closes her notebook but doesn't put it away. Captain Martinez, are you ordering me to stop taking notes? The question is more sophisticated than Martinez expected. She's creating a record of his decisions, forcing him to choose between supporting Jessica's overreach or admitting his crew is violating passenger rights. He chooses poorly. I'm ordering you to comply with crew instructions and cooperate with our security verification process. Zara nods slowly and pulls out her phone. She dials a number and puts the call on speaker. Dad, she says calmly, I need you to conference in corporate legal. It's happening. The word Dad stops everyone cold. Jessica, Victoria, and Martinez exchange confused glances. Who calls their father during a flight crew confrontation? A voice comes through the phone speaker. Deep and authoritative Zara. Are you safe? Physically. Yes, but I'm being harassed, discriminated against, and threatened with federal charges for sitting in my assigned seat. Copy that. Legal is standing by. Are you recording, taking notes? Multiple witnesses present. Jessica snatches for the phone, but Zara pulls it away. Ma'am, you need to end that call immediately, Jessica commands. Phone calls during boarding are not permitted. Another lie. Phone calls during boarding are routine and allowed until the cabin door closes. The voice on the speaker continues. Zara, we're tracking your flight. Do you need immediate intervention? Not yet, Zara says, looking directly at Jessica. I want to see how far this goes. Jessica feels control slipping away like water through her fingers, but she commits to the course she's chosen. In her mind, backing down now would mean admitting she was wrong, and Jessica Crawford has never been wrong about passengers who don't belong. Captain, I recommend we call airport security immediately. This passenger is being non-compliant and potentially fraudulent. Martinez nods, pulled along by the momentum of Jessica's certainty. I'll make the call. As he reaches for the aircraft phone, Zara speaks one last time. Captain Martinez, Jessica Crawford. Mrs. Westbrook, you have 30 seconds to reconsider what you're doing. After that, there are no second chances. Victoria laughs a sound like breaking glass. Is that supposed to be a threat? Zara doesn't smile. She doesn't threaten. She simply looks at her watch and says 29, 28, 27. The countdown has begun, and none of them realize they're counting down to the end of their own worlds. What Jessica Crawford, Captain Martinez, and Victoria Westbrook don't realize is that their confrontation with Zara Thompson is being captured by multiple cameras broadcast live to thousands of viewers and documented in real time across social media platforms. The age of accountability has arrived, and it's carrying smartphones. 3 rows behind the drama. David Kim pulls out his iPhone and begins recording. The 35-year-old tech entrepreneur recognizes the moment for what it is, a perfect storm of prejudice playing out in public. His finger hovers over the record button for exactly 3 seconds before his conscience makes the decision for him. Flight 847 Meridian Airlines, he whispers into his phone as he starts recording. JFK to London. Adult flight attendant and captain harassing black teenager for existing in first class. This is disgusting. He immediately uploads the video to Twitter with the caption, "Happening now. Meridian, air crew racially profiling passenger. Girl did nothing wrong except sit in her assigned seat. Meridian, airlines now are flying while black, Ash Seatgate. The tweet posts at 3:03 p.m. Eastern Time. Within 30 seconds, it has 5 retweets. Within 2 minutes, it has 50. By minute 5, the hashtag #Seatgate is trending in the New York metropolitan area. Across the aisle from David Sarah Rodriguez discreetly opens her phone's voice recording app. As a civil rights attorney, she recognizes the legal implications of what she's witnessing. Every word, every threat, every false claim about federal regulations could form the basis of a discrimination lawsuit. She timestamps her recording Tuesday 3:04 p.m. Meridian Airlines Flight 847. White female flight attendant named Jessica Crawford and Hispanic male captain making threats against young black female passenger in seat 2A. Passenger appears calm and compliant. Crew member named Miguel attempted intervention but was silenced. Behind them, college student Marcus Williams goes live on TikTok. His stream starts with just his girlfriend watching, but as he whispers commentary about the crazy flight attendant losing her mind over a black girl, viewers begin joining rapidly. "Y'all, this is insane," Marcus whispers to his phone. "This lady is literally trying to kick this girl off the plane for no reason. The girl hasn't done anything wrong. She's just sitting there reading a book." The live stream notification pings his followers. Within minutes, he has 300 viewers, then 500, then 1,000. The comments section explodes with outrage and demands for more information. "Get her name types user, @JusticeNow. This is why I don't fly comments @TravelingWhileBlack. Record everything." Make them famous demands @SocialJusticeWarrior. The viral moment builds with frightening speed. David Kim's original tweet gets retweeted by a verified account with 100K followers. That account's followers start sharing their own stories of airline discrimination. The hashtag #FlyingWhileBlack resurrects from previous incidents and merges with #Seatgate. But the most damaging documentation isn't happening on social media. It's happening in Zara's own backpack. Sewn into the lining of her Jan Sport bag is a device that looks like a portable battery charger, but is actually a professional-grade audio recorder. The device was installed by Meridian's own security team at Michael Thompson's request. Every word spoken within 15 feet of Zara is being captured in courtroom-quality audio and transmitted in real time to Meridian's corporate offices. In a conference room 40 stories above Manhattan, a crisis team assembled by CEO Michael Thompson listens to the live feed with growing horror. "Jesus Christ," mutters Robert Walsh, Meridian's chief legal officer. "She just threatened a federal charge for sitting in a seat. That's grounds for immediate termination." Jennifer Martinez, no relation to the captain, leads Meridian's Human Resources Department. She's already pulling Jessica Crawford's employment file on her laptop. 22 years of service, but look at this. 17 passenger complaints in the last 2 years, all involving passengers of color, all dismissed by local management. The pattern is undeniable and legally toxic. Michael Thompson sits at the head of the conference table, his face a mask of controlled fury. Through the speaker, he hears Victoria Westbrook's voice. "People like that don't fly first class unless someone made a mistake." "That's a first-class passenger talking," he says quietly. Victoria Westbrook. I know her file. Spends over $200,000 a year with us. And she's saying that about my daughter. The corporate communications team led by Director Amanda Foster monitors the social media explosion in real time. Her screens show dozens of platforms, simultaneously Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit. "Sir, we have a problem," Amanda announces. David Kim's video has been viewed 40,000 times in 8 minutes. It's been picked up by at least 3 airline employee groups. The comments are brutal. She reads from her screen, "Just canceled my Meridian booking. Flying Southwest instead. This is why I drive everywhere. My company will never use Meridian for business travel again." But the real nuclear moment comes when the video reaches celebrity status. Actress and activist Nia Long retweets David's video with the comment, "This child is someone's daughter. This crew should be ashamed. Do better at Meridian Air." Nia Long has 2.3 million followers. Back on the plane, Jessica Crawford has no idea she's already internet famous for all the wrong reasons. She's too focused on winning the immediate confrontation to consider the long-term consequences of her actions. "Ma'am, I'm giving you one final opportunity to comply with crew instructions," she announces loud enough for everyone to hear. "Gather your belongings and move to economy class, or I will have you removed from this aircraft." David Kim's phone captures every word. He's now following his original tweet with a thread update flight attendant. Just gave final warning to girl who literally hasn't done anything wrong. Captain supporting this madness. Girl is staying calm, but this is insane. The thread goes viral immediately. Each tweet gets thousands of interactions within minutes. The story escapes the insular world of aviation and enters mainstream social consciousness. Marcus Williams's TikTok live stream now has over 2,000 viewers. The comments are a mixture of outrage, legal advice, and demands for justice. Someone needs to call the ACLU types at Legal Eagle 2024. "This is a lawsuit waiting to happen" comments at Civil Rights Attorney. Get their names and badge numbers. Demands at Accountability Now. Sarah Rodriguez still recording audio watches Zara Thompson with growing admiration. Most people would be crying, shouting, or backing down by now. But Zara sits with the composure of someone who knows something the others don't. Passenger remains calm and dignified despite escalating harassment. Sarah whispers into her recording. Crew appears to be violating multiple company policies and federal regulations regarding passenger treatment. The legal documentation continues building. Sarah recognizes that she's witnessing a textbook case of discrimination that will likely result in significant financial liability for Meridian Airlines. In corporate headquarters, the crisis team receives updated social media metrics every 30 seconds. The numbers are catastrophic and accelerating. Twitter impressions 2.3 million, and climbing, Amanda reports. TikTok views 850,000 on the primary video alone. Instagram stories 15,000 shares. We're trending on 4 platforms simultaneously. Michael Thompson closes his eyes for a moment, seeing his company's reputation disintegrating in real time. But his primary emotion isn't concern for corporate profits. It's fury at watching his daughter endure the humiliation he worked his entire life to shield her from. "How long until we can intervene?" he asks his legal team. "The aircraft is still at the gate," Walsh responds. "We have jurisdiction. We can make the call now." Michael looks at the speaker where his daughter's voice occasionally emerges, still calm, still documenting, still giving the crew opportunities to make better choices. "She wants to see how far they'll go," he says quietly. We let this play out for 2 more minutes. Then we end it. The documentation continues across multiple platforms and devices. Every angle is covered. Every word is preserved. Every action is time-stamped and geo-referenced. What started as Jessica Crawford's attempt to maintain standards has become a masterclass in how discrimination spreads through institutional complicity. Miguel Santos was silenced for telling the truth. Captain Martinez chose authority over accuracy. Victoria Westbrook provided the entitled passenger voice that enabled crew overreach. And all of it is being captured for posterity. The viral moment reaches critical mass when CNN Breaking News picks up the story. A producer monitoring social media trends notices the massive engagement around #Seatgate and #Meridian Airlines. Within minutes, a segment is planned for the next news cycle. But by then, the story will be over. The consequences will have already begun. And Jessica Crawford, Captain Martinez, and Victoria Westbrook will discover that in the age of smartphones and social media, humiliating someone in public means getting humiliated in public. The documentation is complete. The evidence is overwhelming. The viral moment has achieved critical mass. All that remains is justice. The moment of revelation arrives not with theatrical drama, but with the quiet authority of power that doesn't need to announce itself. Zara Thompson looks at her smartwatch as it vibrates once displaying a message standing by. Your call. She glances up at Jessica Crawford, who is still demanding compliance with fabricated regulations, and makes a decision that will reverberate through the aviation industry for decades. Captain Martinez Zara says, her voice cutting through the cabin noise with surgical precision. I need you to call your CEO right now. Martinez laughs, the sound bitter and dismissive. Miss, I don't call the CEO for passenger disputes. You're not that important. Zara doesn't flinch. She pulls out her phone and dials a number from memory. Then I'll call him for you. The phone rings once before a familiar voice answers Meridian Airlines' CEO office. This is Michael Thompson. The effect is immediate and electric. Jessica's face drains of color. Captain Martinez stops mid-sentence. Victoria Westbrook clutches her dog tighter as if it might anchor her to reality. Dad Zara says calmly, I think you should talk to Captain Martinez. The word Dad hits the cabin like a lightning strike. Everyone freezes. The impossible becomes undeniable. The thug Jessica has been harassing for 15 minutes is not just a passenger. She's the daughter of the most powerful man in the company. Michael Thompson's voice carries through the phone speaker with the authority of absolute power. Put Captain Martinez on the line. Now. Jessica reaches for the phone, but Zara pulls it away. He asked for the captain, not you. Martinez's hand trembles as he takes the phone. His 20-year career flashes before his eyes in the seconds before he speaks. Mr. Thompson. This is Captain Martinez. Captain? You have exactly 30 seconds to explain why my daughter is being harassed on one of my aircraft. The question hangs in the recycled air like a sword. Martinez looks around the cabin, seeing the situation through completely different eyes. The teenager in torn jeans isn't just a passenger anymore. She's the CEO's daughter. The power dynamics haven't just shifted, they've completely inverted. Sir, there was a misunderstanding about her seat assignment. Martinez begins already crafting the lie that might save his career. Stop. Michael's voice cuts through the speaker. I've been listening to live audio for the last 12 minutes. I heard Jessica threaten federal charges for sitting in a paid seat. I heard Mrs. Westbrook make explicitly discriminatory comments. I heard you support crew overreach instead of protecting passenger rights. The silence that follows is deafening. Even the engine noise seems muted. 46 people in first class and business class sit frozen, witnessing a public execution carried out through a phone call. Jessica Crawford. Michael's voice continues. You are terminated, effective immediately. Your company access is revoked. Security will escort you off my aircraft. Jessica's world collapses in real time. 22 years of seniority, pension benefits, health insurance, professional identity, all gone in a single sentence. She opens her mouth to protest, to explain, to beg, but no words come out. Sir, please, she finally whispers. No. Michael cuts her off. You called my daughter a thug. You threatened her with federal charges. You confiscated her property without cause. You violated every principle of dignified service that this company was built on. You're done. Captain Martinez realizes his own career is hanging by a thread. Mr. Thompson, I was just trying to support my crew by supporting discrimination, by enabling harassment, by choosing the path of least resistance instead of doing what's right. Michael's voice carries disappointment more cutting than anger. Captain Martinez, you are grounded pending a full investigation. First Officer Williams will complete this flight. The cockpit door opens and First Officer Diana Williams emerges, her face a mixture of shock and determination. She's been listening to the commotion from the flight deck, wondering when someone in authority would finally intervene. Captain, she says quietly, I'll need your credentials. The humiliation is complete and public. Martinez removes his captain's bars with hands that shake like leaves in a storm. His daughters' faces flash through his mind, and he wonders how he'll explain that Daddy lost his job because he was too weak to stand up for what's right. But the revelations aren't finished. Zara stands up slowly, reaching into her backpack. She pulls out a laminated ID badge that reflects the cabin lights like a mirror. Zara Thompson, Executive Trainee, Meridian Airlines. The gasps are audible throughout the cabin. Passengers who were pretending not to watch now stare openly. The quiet teenager they witnessed being harassed isn't just the CEO's daughter, she's an actual company executive. Victoria Westbrook realizes the magnitude of her mistake with crystal clarity. She hasn't just insulted a passenger, she's verbally attacked the daughter of the man who controls her precious VIP status, her upgrade privileges, her entire lifestyle of luxury travel. "Oh, God," Victoria whispers, her voice barely audible. "I didn't know. I didn't realize. You didn't realize that I was human enough to deserve basic respect." Zara asks, her tone still calm, but with an edge that could cut steel. "You didn't realize that dignity shouldn't depend on who someone's father is." Victoria begins crying, not from remorse, but from panic. Her world of privilege and entitlement is crumbling around her like a house of cards in an earthquake. Through the phone, Michael Thompson continues the dismantling. "Mrs. Westbrook, your VIP status with Meridian Airlines is permanently revoked. You are banned from all future flights. Your lifetime membership is canceled, effective immediately. But I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars with your airline." Victoria protests through her tears. "And in return, you've made my daughter and countless other passengers feel unwelcome in their own seats. The transaction is complete, Mrs. Westbrook. We no longer want your money." The corporate response continues with mathematical precision. In Meridian's headquarters, the crisis team executes emergency protocols with swift efficiency. Jessica Crawford's employee access has been terminated, reports IT Director James Patterson. Her company credit cards are canceled, her employee benefits are suspended, and her computer accounts are locked. Captain Martinez is grounded immediately, adds Flight Operations Director Carol Stevens. All his upcoming flights are reassigned. His file is flagged for investigation. Mrs. Westbrook's customer profile is updated to reflect the lifetime ban. Confirms Customer Service Director Lisa Wang. All future booking attempts will be automatically rejected. But Michael Thompson isn't finished. His voice carries through the cabin speaker with the finality of Judgment Day. To everyone else on this aircraft who watched a 19-year-old girl get harassed and said nothing, who saw discrimination happen in real time and chose silence, you've shown me exactly who you are. The passengers shift uncomfortably in their seats. Some stare at their phones. Others suddenly find their magazines fascinating. The complicity of inaction feels heavier than the recycled air. However, Michael continues, "I want to recognize the passengers who documented this incident. David Kim, Sarah Rodriguez, Marcus Williams. You chose accountability over comfort. Your actions will help ensure this never happens again." David Kim looks up from his phone, where his viral tweet has now been retweeted 50,000 times. Sarah Rodriguez stops her audio recording, knowing she has enough evidence for a dozen lawsuits. Marcus Williams waves awkwardly to his TikTok audience, which has grown to over 5,000 live viewers. But the most important recognition comes next. Miguel Santos, you tried to de-escalate the situation. You spoke up when it mattered, even though you were silenced by senior crew. Effective immediately, you're promoted to lead cabin crew for this flight and all future flights. Miguel, who has been standing silently in the galley, steps forward with tears in his eyes. "Mr. Thompson, I should have done more. I should have been braver." "You did what you could within an unfair power structure," Zara responds before her father can speak. "Now you can help us build a better one. The transformation is complete, but not yet finished." First Officer Williams, Now, Acting Captain Williams addresses the cabin. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the delay. This flight will continue to London under my command. We expect a smooth and dignified journey for all passengers. But Zara isn't done making her point. She walks slowly down the aisle, past the staring passengers, past the crew members who witnessed her humiliation, past the empty seats where Jessica and Captain Martinez were supposed to work. She stops at Miguel Santos and extends her hand. Thank you for trying to do the right thing. Then she turns to address the entire cabin. My name is Zara Thompson. I'm 19 years old. I'm a college student, and yes, I'm the CEO's daughter. But none of that should matter. What should matter is that I paid for my seat. I followed all regulations, and I deserved basic human respect. The cabin is silent, except for the soft hum of air circulation. What happened here today wasn't about me, Zara continues. It was about how we treat people when we think no one important is watching. It was about the assumptions we make based on appearance. It was about the courage to speak up when we see something wrong. She looks directly at the passengers who remained silent. The next person who gets harassed on an airplane might not be the CEO's daughter. They might not have anyone powerful to call. They might just be alone, far from home, depending on strangers to treat them with dignity. The moral weight of her words settles over the cabin like gravity. Victoria Westbrook, still crying, attempts one final plea. Miss Thompson, I'm truly sorry. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. Zara interrupts gently. You meant every word. You just didn't expect consequences. And with that, Zara returns to seat 2A, opens her book, and continues reading as if the last 20 minutes were just a brief interruption in her journey. But for Jessica Crawford, Captain Martinez, and Victoria Westbrook, the journey is over. Their worlds have ended at 35,000 feet, not with explosion or violence, but with the quiet authority of justice finally served. The phone call concludes with Michael Thompson's final words. This flight will continue. But the culture that allowed this to happen ends today. And in the silence that follows, everyone aboard Flight 847 understands that they've witnessed more than a confrontation. They've witnessed a revolution. The consequences of the confrontation ripple outward like shock waves from an earthquake, transforming lives in real time with surgical precision. Jessica Crawford stands in the aisle of the aircraft she's called home for 22 years, watching security officers board through the jet bridge. Her career isn't just over, it's been publicly executed in front of 46 witnesses and thousands of social media viewers. Ma'am, we need you to gather your personal items and come with us, says the lead security officer, a woman in her 40s who speaks with professional courtesy but unmistakable authority. Jessica's hands shake as she opens her crew locker, removing a small photo of her cat, a lucky pen from her first flight, and a company pin celebrating her 20th anniversary. 2 decades of memories reduced to objects that fit in her palms. This isn't fair, she whispers, though she's not sure who she's talking to. I was protecting the airline's reputation. I was maintaining standards. Miguel Santos, now wearing the lead cabin crew designation on his uniform, approaches with something resembling compassion. Jessica, those weren't standards. Those were prejudices. She turns on him with desperate fury. You don't understand the pressure. The complaints when first class isn't exclusive enough. The passenger surveys that mention inappropriate travelers. I was just doing my job. Your job was serving passengers, not judging them. Miguel responds quietly. And you know that. As Jessica is escorted off the aircraft, her company phone buzzes with automated messages. Your Meridian Airlines employee benefits have been terminated. Your company credit card has been canceled. Your final paycheck will be processed within 72 hours. 22 years of seniority health insurance, pension contributions, and professional identity disappear with the efficiency of modern human resources software. Jessica Crawford, the veteran flight attendant, ceases to exist before she even reaches the terminal. But her humiliation is just beginning. David Kim's viral video has now reached 500,000 views across multiple platforms. Jessica's face, contorted with discriminatory rage, becomes an internet meme within hours. Screenshots circulate with captions like, "When Karen meets justice" and "This is why I drive everywhere." Her full name trends on Twitter alongside phrases like "racist flight attendant" and "Meridian Airlines scandal." Her LinkedIn profile, previously showcasing her aviation career, becomes a magnet for negative comments until she deactivates it entirely. Meanwhile, Captain Robert Martinez faces his own professional apocalypse. First Officer Diana Williams, now Acting Captain Williams, receives authorization from Meridian's Operations Center to assume full command of Flight 847. Captain Martinez Williams says with uncomfortable formality, "I need your flight credentials, radio authorizations, and aircraft access codes." Martinez removes his captain's bars with the mechanical precision of a man in shock. His 20-year climb from regional co-pilot to major airline captain reverses in minutes. The gold stripes that marked his authority become meaningless fabric. "Diana, please," he whispers. "I have 2 daughters, a mortgage. I was just trying to avoid conflict." Williams looks at him with disappointment that cuts deeper than anger. "You avoided conflict by enabling discrimination. That's not leadership, Robert. That's cowardice." Martinez's company phone receives the same automated termination messages as Jessica's, but his consequences extend beyond employment. As an airline captain, his professional license requires regular company endorsement. Without Meridian's support, his flying credentials enter investigation status with the Federal Aviation Administration. His personal phone buzzes with a text from his 15-year-old daughter, "Dad, you're on TikTok. Kids at school are asking if that's really you. I'm so embarrassed." The social media explosion has reached his family, forcing him to confront the gap between the father he thought he was and the man his daughter saw on viral video. Victoria Westbrook's destruction follows a different trajectory but reaches the same destination. In the span of 20 minutes, she transforms from VIP customer to banned passenger, from entitled traveler to internet pariah. Her first realization of the catastrophe comes when she attempts to access the Meridian Airlines app on her phone. Instead of her usual Platinum Elite status page, she sees a message, "Account access suspended. Please contact customer service." She calls the VIP customer line, a number she's used dozens of times for upgrade requests and special accommodations. The representative, Amanda, recognizes her voice immediately. "Mrs. Westbrook, I'm sorry, but your account has been permanently suspended due to discriminatory behavior toward other passengers." "That's impossible," Victoria shrieks. "I spend over $200,000 a year with Meridian. I'm their best customer, ma'am. Per CEO directive, your lifetime ban is non-negotiable. All future booking attempts will be automatically rejected. Your outstanding reservations have been canceled with full refund." Victoria realizes the magnitude of her loss. Without Meridian, her globe-trotting lifestyle becomes significantly more complicated. Meridian flies routes her other preferred airlines don't service. Her meticulously planned European shopping trips will require multiple connections and lower service levels. But the social consequences extend far beyond airline loyalty programs. Victoria's country club friends have already seen the viral videos. Her phone buzzes with text messages that range from concerned to cutting. Victoria is that really you on that airplane video from her bridge partner. Saw the news. Yikes. From her neighbor. The club board might want to discuss this. From the membership committee chair. Victoria Westbrook built her identity on exclusivity and social status. Now that same social network turns its back on her with the speed of viral media and the finality of moral judgment. Her husband, Charles Pemberton Westbrook III, calls her while she's still on the airplane. "Victoria, My law partners are asking about this airplane incident. My name is being mentioned in news articles as your spouse. This is affecting my practice." The conversation that follows occurs in whispered tones that carry throughout the first-class cabin. "Charles, it was a misunderstanding. The girl was clearly in the wrong place. Victoria, she was the airline owner's daughter. There is no misunderstanding. There's only viral video of my wife making racist comments to a teenager." "I never said anything racist." "You said people like that don't fly first class." "It's on video, Victoria. It's been viewed by 500,000 people." The call ends with Charles informing her that he's moving to their Hamptons house until this situation resolves. But they both know it will never resolve. In the age of internet permanence, Victoria's 20 minutes of discriminatory behavior will follow her forever. Miguel Santos represents the positive transformation emerging from the crisis. His promotion to lead cabin crew comes with immediate challenges and unexpected opportunities. Miguel Zara says, as the plane prepares for departure, "I want you to know that standing up cost you nothing, and silence would have cost you everything." Miguel's new authority allows him to address the remaining cabin crew with honesty that wasn't possible under Jessica's hierarchy. "What we witnessed today cannot happen again. Ever. We serve passengers, not judge them. We provide safety and comfort regardless of appearance, age, race, or perceived economic status." His words carry weight because he challenged Jessica's overreach despite the personal risk. The other crew members recognize that Miguel earned his promotion through moral courage, not corporate politics. But Miguel also faces the complexity of sudden leadership. Jessica's discriminatory behavior was enabled by crew members who stayed silent, passengers who looked away, and an institutional culture that prioritized conflict avoidance over justice. "How do we make sure this never happens again?" asks flight attendant Patricia Wong. "By remembering that our job is service, not gatekeeping," Miguel responds. "By treating every passenger like they might be evaluating our performance. By understanding that dignity isn't a first-class amenity, it's a basic human right." The flight finally departs JFK 47 minutes behind schedule, but with a fundamentally transformed crew dynamic. Miguel leads the service with the knowledge that everyone is watching, everyone is recording, and everyone deserves respect. The social media aftermath continues building momentum throughout the flight. David Kim's original Twitter video reaches 1 million views before the plane achieves cruising altitude. News outlets pick up the story, framing it as a case study in viral accountability and corporate response. CNN runs a segment titled "Discrimination at 35,000 feet, when passengers fight back." Fox News covers it as "CEO's daughter faces airline bias." BBC International frames it as "American aviation giant confronts racial profiling." The story resonates globally because it captures universal themes: the abuse of authority, the courage of documentation, the power of consequence, and the possibility of justice in an unjust world. But the most significant immediate consequence occurs in Meridian Airlines corporate headquarters. Michael Thompson convenes an emergency board meeting to address the crisis and implement structural changes that prevent future incidents. This wasn't an isolated incident, he tells the board. This was a failure that happened to be caught on camera. Jessica Crawford had 17 discrimination complaints in 2 years, all dismissed by local management, all involving passengers of color. Board member Patricia Chang reviews the legal implications. "We're looking at potential federal investigation, class action lawsuits from previous incidents, and massive reputation damage. Our stock price dropped 12% in the last 2 hours." Good Michael responds, surprising everyone. "If our stock price depends on discriminatory practices, then we need a different stock price. If our reputation depends on exclusivity rather than excellence, then we need a different reputation." The board approves immediate implementation of new policies: zero tolerance for discrimination with automatic termination for violations. Mandatory bias training for all customer-facing employees. Anonymous reporting for passenger mistreatment. Real-time monitoring of crew-passenger interactions. promotion priorities for employees who demonstrate inclusive behavior. Chief Operating Officer David Martinez summarizes the transformation. We're not just changing policies, we're changing culture. We're admitting that our previous approach was wrong and committing to do better. Meanwhile, Zara Thompson sits in seat 2A, reviewing her notes from the incident. Her undercover audit has revealed more than discrimination. It's exposed the institutional structures that enable bias and the individual choices that perpetuate injustice. She writes in her notebook, "Lesson learned: authority without accountability becomes abuse. Silence in the face of injustice becomes complicity. Change requires consequence. The immediate consequences continue rippling outward as Flight 847 crosses the Atlantic." Jessica Crawford sits in a security holding area at JFK, calling her sister to explain why she suddenly needs a place to stay. Captain Martinez drives home to New Jersey, rehearsing how to tell his daughters that their father lost his job for lacking courage. Victoria Westbrook attempts to book alternative flights to London, discovering that her airline options have dramatically decreased. But the most important consequence is cultural. 44 passengers on Flight 847 witnessed the cost of discrimination and the power of accountability. They return to their lives with a clear understanding that silence enables injustice and that speaking up can transform the world. The viral videos circulate through social networks, carrying the message that ordinary people have extraordinary power when they choose to use it. The age of consequence has arrived, delivered through smartphone cameras and social media platforms. As Zara Thompson looks out the window at the Atlantic Ocean 35,000 feet below, she knows that the turbulence is over. But the change has just begun. 6 months after Flight 847, the aviation industry operates under fundamentally different principles. The incident that began with Jessica Crawford's discriminatory demands has evolved into a case study taught in business schools, diversity training programs, and ethics courses worldwide. Meridian Airlines emerges stronger from the crisis, not despite the controversy, but because of how they handled it. Michael Thompson's decision to prioritize accountability over reputation management transforms the company's culture and market position. The Thompson Protocol, as industry publications name it, becomes the gold standard for addressing discrimination in transportation. The policy framework includes zero-tolerance enforcement, real-time bias monitoring, and cultural transformation initiatives that other airlines adopt voluntarily to avoid their own viral disasters. Zara Thompson, now 20 years old and finishing her junior year at Howard University, serves as Meridian's Vice President of Inclusive Experience while completing her studies remotely. Her first major initiative launches the Dignity at Altitude program, partnering with civil rights organizations to audit airline practices across the industry. "We discovered that our incident wasn't unique," Zara explains to a conference of airline executives at the International Air Transport Association annual meeting. "We found patterns of discrimination at carriers across the globe, but we also found opportunities to lead positive change." The data she presents is sobering. Anonymous surveys reveal that 63% of minority passengers experienced some form of bias during airline travel, ranging from suspicious looks to explicit discrimination. 47% of airline employees witnessed discriminatory behavior but felt unable to intervene due to hierarchical structures or fear of retaliation. The problem wasn't individual prejudice, Zara continues. The problem was institutional structures that enabled prejudice and silenced people who tried to challenge it. The solution involves comprehensive reform touching every aspect of airline operations. Flight crew training now includes bias recognition modules developed by psychologists and civil rights experts. Passenger feedback provides real-time reporting capabilities for discriminatory treatment. Management structures reward employees who demonstrate inclusive behavior and intervene in bias situations. Miguel Santos, now Director of Cabin Crew Excellence for Meridian, leads the industry transformation from the operational level. His experience challenging Jessica Crawford's discrimination and subsequent promotion demonstrates that moral courage advances careers rather than endangering them. We teach crews to see intervention as professional responsibility, not personal risk, Miguel explains to a group of flight attendants from multiple airlines during a training symposium in Chicago. When you see discrimination happening, your job isn't to stay neutral. Your job is to protect passenger dignity. Miguel's training programs spread throughout the industry as airlines recognize the legal and financial risks of discriminatory practices. The modules include role-playing scenarios, bias recognition exercises, and de-escalation techniques that address prejudice without creating additional conflict. His personal transformation from silent witness to industry leader illustrates the broader cultural change. Miguel receives the Transportation Dignity Award from the NAACP and speaks at universities about the courage required to challenge institutional bias. But the most dramatic transformation involves the aftermath of individual consequences. Jessica Crawford's story becomes a cautionary tale about the permanent nature of viral accountability. 2 years after her termination, Jessica works as a cashier at a discount grocery store in Queens, scanning barcodes for customers who treat her with the same dismissive attitude she once showed Zara. The irony is not lost on her. She lives in a studio apartment, having lost her house to foreclosure when her airline pension disappeared with her termination. Her attempt to find another flight attendant position failed when background checks revealed her viral infamy. Other service industry jobs prove elusive as employers Google her name and find thousands of articles about the racist flight attendant. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, the automatic doors of Save-A-Lot slide open and Jessica looks up from her register to see Zara Thompson approaching her checkout line. Zara looks radiant in a business suit carrying groceries for a local food bank charity event. Paper or plastic? Jessica asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Zara recognizes her immediately but shows no satisfaction, no gloating, no revenge. "I brought my own bag," she says kindly. Jessica scans 50 turkeys for the food bank donation, her hands shaking as she processes the transaction. When the total appears, Zara swipes a black American Express card, the kind Jessica used to envy from her position of airline authority. "I'm sorry," Jessica whispers as she hands over the receipt. "I lost everything. My house, my career, my reputation. I know that doesn't excuse what I did, but I want you to know that I understand now." Zara looks at her with something approaching compassion. "You didn't lose everything, Jessica. You threw it away. You traded 22 years of career achievement for 20 minutes of feeling superior to a teenager. The trade was your choice." Jessica nods, tears streaming down her face. "Was it worth it? Destroying my life to make your point?" "Jessica," Zara says softly, "I didn't destroy your life. You destroyed your life the moment you decided that my dignity was worth less than your prejudices. I just made sure there were consequences." Zara walks away, leaving Jessica to contemplate the permanent nature of choices made in moments of bias. Captain Robert Martinez faces different consequences, but reaches similar understanding. Unable to find another commercial flying position, he works cargo flights in Alaska, piloting aging aircraft through dangerous weather for a fraction of his former salary. His marriage survives, but his relationship with his daughters requires significant repair. They struggle to reconcile the father who taught them about equality and justice with the man who enabled discrimination when his career was on the line. "Dad," his older daughter says during a difficult family conversation, "how could you let that happen to someone my age?" Martinez has no good answer because there is no good answer. He failed a moral test when it mattered most, and the consequences extend beyond his own life to affect his family's trust and respect. He begins volunteering with youth aviation programs, teaching flying skills while also sharing honest discussions about moral courage and the cost of compromised ethics. His redemption, if it comes at all, will be measured in decades of better choices rather than the momentary convenience that cost him everything. Victoria Westbrook's isolation becomes complete and permanent. Her social circle abandons her with the speed of viral shame and the finality of moral judgment. Country club memberships are revoked. Charity boards remove her from leadership positions, and social invitations stop arriving. She lives alone in her Fifth Avenue penthouse, wealthy but irrelevant, privileged but powerless. Her attempts to rehabilitate her image through philanthropic donations are rejected by organizations that want no association with her viral infamy. 5 years after the incident, Victoria dies alone in her apartment, discovered 3 days later by building maintenance. Her obituary in the Times mentions her charitable work and social prominence, but cannot avoid referencing the airline incident that defined her final years. At her funeral, attended by fewer than a dozen people, no one mentions the viral video that destroyed her reputation. But everyone remembers it. The broader industry transformation produces measurable results. Discrimination complaints across all major airlines decreased by 78% within 3 years of implementing Thompson Protocol standards. Passenger satisfaction surveys show marked improvement in inclusive treatment metrics. New airline employees receive bias training as standard operating procedure. Existing employees undergo annual recertification that includes scenario-based discrimination response training. Management advancement requires demonstrated commitment to inclusive practices. The Federal Aviation Administration adopts components of the Thompson Protocol as recommended guidelines for commercial aviation. The Department of Transportation includes anti-discrimination metrics in airline safety and performance evaluations. International aviation authorities implement similar standards, recognizing that bias incidents damage industry reputation globally. The Montreal Convention on Aviation Rights includes provisions addressing passenger dignity and crew accountability for discriminatory behavior. Zara Thompson's legacy extends beyond airline policy reform. She speaks at universities about leveraging privilege for social justice, demonstrating how individual courage can drive institutional change. Her TED Talk, Dignity at 35,000 Feet, receives over 5 million views and spawns countless discussions about bias, privilege, and accountability. At 25, she becomes the youngest person ever appointed to the Federal Transportation Advisory Committee. Her influence shapes national policy on discrimination in all forms of transportation, from airlines to ride-sharing services to public transit. But her most important transformation is personal. The experience of discrimination followed by justice teaches her that privilege carries responsibility, that power requires purpose, and that change demands courage. I learned that being the CEO's daughter protected me from permanent consequences, she reflects in an interview with Harvard Business Review. But it didn't protect me from experiencing the humiliation and dehumanization that millions of people face without powerful fathers to call for rescue. The understanding drives her continued advocacy for people who don't have corporate influence or viral platforms to amplify their voices. 10 years after Flight 847, Zara boards the same route from JFK to London, sitting in the same seat, 2A. The cabin crew greets her warmly, but their courtesy extends equally to every passenger, regardless of appearance, age, or perceived economic status. A young black teenager in torn jeans and worn sneakers boards the flight heading to seat 2C. The flight attendant, one of Miguel's trainees, offers her a genuine smile and assistance with her luggage. No questions about ticket validity, no suspicious examination of her boarding pass, no assumptions about her right to occupy premium cabin space. Zara watches the interaction with quiet satisfaction, knowing that the culture change extends far beyond policy implementation to genuine transformation of hearts and minds. The flight departs on time with no discrimination, no viral incidents, no viral social media posts about injustice. The absence of drama represents the presence of progress. As the plane climbs toward cruising altitude, Zara opens her laptop and begins writing her Harvard Business School thesis on transformational leadership through crisis response. The screen displays her chosen quote from Dr. King. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Looking out the window at clouds that stretch to the horizon, Zara Thompson knows that her father's dream of respectful skies has become reality. She inherited more than an airline. She inherited the power to change how people treat each other when they think no one important is watching. The revolution wasn't in the headlines or hashtags. It was in the quiet moment when the next teenager in sneakers could board a plane without fear, knowing that dignity would fly with them at every altitude. And in that transformation, the real victory revealed itself, not the punishment of prejudice, but the cultivation of respect that makes punishment unnecessary. The future of aviation soars on wings of accountability, powered by the understanding that everyone deserves dignity 35,000 feet above their differences. If you believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity regardless of how they look, this story is for you. Hit that like button if this story moved you. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of justice and transformation. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Your voice matters. Your story matters. And together, we can create a world where respect isn't reserved for the privileged few, but extended to everyone who deserves basic human dignity. Drop a comment below and tell us about a time you witnessed discrimination or stood up for what was right. Let's build a community where speaking up becomes the norm, not the exception. Thank you for watching, and remember, change starts with each of us choosing courage over comfort, truth over silence, and justice over convenience.